Speedway Pulse Media is partnered with Pele Motorsport.
That's right. We're an official marketing agent of Sam Paley and Paley Motorsport. If you want to get on a super fast race car and win some races and have your name mentioned in Victory Lane, reach out to us and we'll get you in touch with Sam or whoever you would like to sponsor within the team. Why wait? Reach millions through motorsports with Paley Motorsports today.
No better time to get involved.
That's right. Obviously, like you say, we got something special happening today.
Sure
Our
do.
good friend Jensen Altzman hooked us up with some very good up and coming talent, I will have to say myself.
Yeah, he's been very impressive what he's done this year. Don't want to give too much away because he's still pretty new to the racing world, but I think you're gonna be hearing his name in the IMSA paddock next week at CTMP.
Right, and that's what I was about to say. Newly mentioned, he's going to be at CTMP. So, I mean, definitely really huge for Carlton and his career. Nonetheless, we have Carlton MacFarlane on the show with us today. No, there's no relation to Cletus MacFarlane. Do not get that confused. I will go ahead and get that out the way. This is nowhere near related to Cletus MacFarlane. However, we would love to have Cletus on the show if we had the opportunity.
Wouldn't say no to that one, but no, Carlton MacFarlane, great young talent, up and coming talent. He's been his first year of cars, and he's been in running Mustang Cup, and doing really well. Consistent podium finisher, and with just 2 rounds left at Road America and Road Atlanta, two roads, I think there's gonna be some good stuff coming in, and
Hey,
I'm
there
not
is.
gonna give away too much, but talking with his driver coach Jensen, I think might see him move up a little bit next year. We'll kind of
Yeah,
let Carlton kind of give the secret away, or hint at it.
right. Like you say. Obviously, without further ado, we want to welcome Carlton on the show. Hey, Carlton, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey, Carlton.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you
Yeah,
guys.
All
yeah,
right.
good deal.
Well,
Well,
I'm
if
going
we
to
want to
go
welcome
ahead.
you on, Carlton,
Yeah, good to be out. Good to be on here.
absolutely. We'll go ahead and start things off. Carlton, we had kind of talked earlier about your background in motorsport, but kind of, for everyone, give us a little, insight of how you kind of got your career started.
Yeah, so about 4 years ago, I started go-karting at the local level at my track, which is about an hour away from my house, out in Western Canada, very small. Did that for a couple of years, then started to race a little bit down in the States with ruthless karting. That's how I met Jensen. And through Jensen, after a couple of years of working with him, he thought it was time for me to think about making the jump to cars. So we got a test session in the Mustang Dark Horse actually at Daytona for my first time in December of last year. We performed really well there, and then that's how I got the seat for this year.
Awesome. That's really cool there. Well, tell us, a little bit about your karting career because, like I said, this is just your fourth year racing. Kind of give us a little background of, some of your karting successes.
Yeah, so in terms of go-karting at the local level, I had some success. I won the championship at my club in 2024 in the 100cc, and then I also won a national event called the North 49, a Canadian national event that same year as well in the 100cc. Apart from that, in go-karting, to be honest, I was nothing special. I'm a really tall guy. I'm 6'4". So in go-karting, that limits you a lot. Like you can never run at the front in like the huge national races in the US. It's just impossible. But it was Jensen Rail recognized my talent behind the wheel and know that for my height, I was doing everything I could. And I think that's what's leading to my success in cars now.
Right, and I was like you say, I grew up in the karting realm, but I was in the dirt karting side. And Wyman, you were more the asphalt side of things. So, kind of
Yeah.
how was that perspective for you? Because I know you're a lot shorter than Carlton.
Yeah. So that made it really interesting because it kind of gave me a little bit of advantage. Most people around that I raced were about five, about my height. I'm about 5'8", 5'9". So that really, everyone kind of was in that same realm. A lot of where I started was at Roebling Road, a track Carlton knows pretty well, doing a test there. But yeah, I kind of like Carlton. I was nothing really special. I had a few wins, and ultimately just kind of had to step away from it. Carlton right now has gotten really expensive, and so that's kind of why I stepped into the media role.
Yeah, no, karting for what it is nowadays is very expensive.
Obviously, like you say, this year's been a tremendous year with assets in your back pocket. Obviously, like the whole entire crew at MMR and then Jensen himself. Kind of talk about how that connection really began.
Yeah, so it all leads back actually to my local go-kart track. So the kart salesman, like I said, like kart repair guy here, it's a company called Overdrive Motorsports, Joey Guion, great guy. We were interested in running some go-karting down in the States and Challenge of the Americas. So we asked him like, do you know any teams? And he set us up with Ruthless, and then that's how we met Jensen through that. So it all connects back to my local karting here.
How much is an asset has he been, just starting with him in carts and going all the way to cars? Because he's a wealth of knowledge. He knows these dark horses well, GT4, he's running GT3. He's, kind of done it all, does a little bit of it all.
Oh, it's been great to have him along. I mean, obviously none of this would happen without him and having him, be at almost all of my race weekends every time I'm testing. He's always there, supporting me. And then like when we were doing the GT4 test, he was in the car with me as well. So then we could like have direct feedback there and he could go see and feel out what I was feeling. But yeah, it's a huge asset. And I feel like that's why I'm able to jump in so quickly and be up to speed where I am so fast in my first year because of all the knowledge I get from him.
Right, and obviously, like you already said, I know you kind of briefly mentioned it with the Mustang Cup car at Daytona. Kind of mentioned like the downforce differences and all of that throughout that style of thing compared to what you see in the GT4.
Yeah, so the GT4 didn't get a huge sample of it. We just did limited running at Roebling, which Roebling's a good track, but it's not really representative of, anywhere else. But it's actually not as much of a difference as I thought. It came pretty intuitively. The biggest thing I see is like you just kind of you turn in and the car turns in more. You don't have to fight it as much as you do with the cup car. The cup car you kind of have to turn in and hope it sticks there and have a bunch of wheel inputs to get it down to the apex. Whereas the GT4 is just one smooth input and you hit your apex, which to me is like that was the biggest difference about it.
From the first time you sat in the car at Daytona to now, obviously you've gotten to do some, a variety of different tracks, but how do you feel as a driver you've developed? Because now we see you contending for the podiums, race in and race out in the Mustang Cup. And, going forward, do you feel that the growth that you've sustained has been very beneficial?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the first time I sat in the car at Daytona, I was so nervous. It was very daunting. I mean, you having just been at go-kart tracks my whole life, you drive under the tunnel at Daytona, you see how big it is, and you like all the big names that have raced there. You're like, you almost kind of think like I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough to be here, and especially like we were on track at the same time as like LMP2s, LMP3s, GT3 cars. I'm just like, am I in my Mustang Challenge car? And I've never driven anything before. It was actually the first time I drove a standard as well. Was that so? I had to learn how to not stall it, coming out of pit lane, and I mean compared to now, every time I get in the race car, I'm just getting better. Every lap I do, I'm just trying to get better and better and better, and I feel like that's working. I mean, compared to now, where every Mustang Cup weekend, I know there's a decent chance I'll stand on the podium and even contend. I'm trying to contend for wins now. That's now my goal coming into the last few races to start trying to contend for wins. I mean, the progression, I definitely would not have, like, if you asked me back then, if you thought I'd be, like, on the podium, I think it's been 6 times now. If you asked me back then if that would happen, I would have said no way.
Right, and obviously, like you say, going for wins is definitely easy with a good team that you're at, like MMR. Kind of talk about how the team morale is there and how competitive everything is in that race shop.
Oh, the team morale is awesome. I mean, they're just my crew. I love them all. They're so fun to be around. They make racing fun. I mean, I've been lucky this year. They haven't been putting a whole lot of pressure on me, which has been great for my development. And I mean, I don't think there was a whole lot of expectations on me, but I mean, everybody there, they want to win all the time, but then they also know like if it doesn't, it's okay. We can get it next time. There's always next time. There's not a lot of like, oh, we didn't win. And like they've never been mad at me. When I make mistakes, they've never been mad at me. They're just there to boost me up, and they're the best crew I could ever ask for. Their ability. The last weekend we had to change the transmission. They did it in an hour and a half. We didn't think we were going to make it for qualifying. We did, and they're awesome. I couldn't be where I am without them.
This year within Mustang Cup, you get a lot of practice, 3 sessions on Friday, two races over the weekend, two qualifyings. With it being such, every time you're going to a track, it's a new track for you. Do you feel that getting the utmost out of track time has really helped in your success this year? Like you already mentioned, 6 podiums.
Yeah, I think it has. One of the big reasons for our success too with Mustang Cup is the ability for the coaches to do laps as well. So Jensen can hop in the car in the middle of a practice session and go set a reference lap. So then we have data to compare it to and go, okay, I need to brake 20 meters later here, 5 feet later there, and just being able to experiment a lot
Mhm.
and with the amount of practice time we get. It's like try different lines, see what works, see what doesn't. That's been huge and been able to like figure out different techniques too. They're like, oh, we need to do this different with the braking. I have time to go out on track and figure that out. Whereas in some other series, it'd be like throwing into a race, going into turn one, having to fix my braking. Whereas now, by the time I get to quality in the race, usually I've got everything down for that track and just can maximize everything out of the car.
That's what I like about these series, that you get enough time. And I didn't realize you could have a coach in there. So I know that really helps a lot. I think you're starting to see that in a lot of these kind of series, like IMSA is starting to implement that where you can have a coach in there. So I think that really helps, younger drivers coming into a new series for the first time with a new car or new track.
Yeah, it really does. It's been huge.
So we briefly mentioned that, you've done some GT4 testing, but you've also done some MX5 testing, and I guess we can go ahead and say it. You're going to be getting ready to make your debut with MMR next week at a home track for your CTMP. How important has that been for you as a driver to get in multiple different cars a season and just getting to make laps?
It's been huge, and it's been giving me the ability because one of the most important parts of being a good race car driver is to be able to get in anything and be fast right away, and to have so much exposure to three different types of cars this season. It's been giving me that ability. And driving the Mazdas are so much different from driving the Mustangs. It's not even close. And but it's really good teacher. And even like I did the series test at Indy, and that was huge. Like the amount of racing, like you're going three wide into turn one and testing. It's much different to the Mustangs, where it's like you might get three passes a race, and that's like crazy if you pass three cars in a race in the Mustangs. Yeah, it's been huge. It's been awesome. I'm so grateful for all the opportunities been given this year, and to make my debut at a home track. This would be the only chance I get this year to race in my home country. It's a dream come true.
What's kind of the expectation going into into the weekend, or is there really no expectation? Just kind of want to, make as many laps and just, try and have a decent finish out of the weekend.
I think our expectations are kind of going to be the same as every Mustang Cup weekend, which is just do all the laps. Get the race finishes are huge because when you're trying to apply for more licenses to do other series, they look at race finishes more than race results and experience. So that's going to be huge. I think in terms of pace, I don't expect to run up front right away. I've driven the car 2 days. I think mid pack is a decent goal for us. I think I can manage that, but I don't think we'll be contending at the front next weekend.
Have you been able to like rely on some of your fellow teammates for the series, like Justin Ataconis or Jeremy Fletcher, for any tips?
Justin has been really good. Jeremy was not at the test I did, but Justin has been really good. There's a few like different lines me and him were trying. It was good to bounce ideas off of, like, oh, what do you think about this line through here? What do you think about this line through here? But it's been huge having him to go, oh, no. Like he'd kind of catch up to me. Obviously, he's quite a bit quicker than me, and then he'd catch up to me and go like, hey, do break this much later, earlier, turn in. Like he's been giving me lots of tips, and it's been huge, and it's been able to have the progression, and also comparing the data to each other too has been huge to have the progression I had.
Given, the trajectory you're on, you're going to be competing in two single make series championships this year, Mazda and Mustang Cup. Looking at the standpoint from the manufacturer, how important is it you want to see a manufacturer put so much effort into the race series that you're in, like MX5 Cup and Mustang Cup, because ideally they want to see, people become alumni of the series and move on up to other series.
Yeah, I think the one make series are a huge part of racing, and it's great to see how much they're putting into it. Especially like I've been really impressed with the Ford program, what they've been doing with their, especially with their driver development program. That's one of my main goals in the next few years is to be a part of that because it's just that's how you move up, and it. That's how you get like in the GT4 into GT3, and that's what helps Jensen be where he is today, and so many other drivers. I think it's a great program, and how much they're putting into the one make series. That's where they're getting a lot of their drivers from now, which I think is perfect. They're trying to take the quality drivers from those series and move them up, which is exactly what they're meant for.
Right.
Have
And
you been yet? Oh, go ahead, Jordan.
right, and obviously, like you say, being able to rely on Jensen for obviously such great advice with a car that he's way too familiar with, in my opinion. Kind of explain that style of things and like with him going out and setting trajectory laps for you, like with that being a benefit of you being able to go just go for it and just learn from what he did and just apply it and try to beat it.
Yeah, it's been really helpful. There's been one time where it actually hurt me a little bit. I had a bit of a wreck early in the season trying to keep up with his times, but it's been huge, especially to know what the car is capable of, what that exact car, because you can obviously see other cars in the field. Maybe cars are like a second a lot quicker than you. Experienced guys who are like it's the same kind of car, but to know what someone can do in the exact same car in the exact same setup is has been huge. It's like, okay, I know the car can brake here. I know the car can take this much through the corners. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much help has, Jensen been, but have you gotten to go to the Ford simulator yet and get to apply some of this into the sim world? I know a lot of
I
people, that's how they've helped a lot.
I have, yeah. So the day after our GT4 test at Roebling, I got to go do the sim session at Ford with myself, Jensen, Nolan, and Michael Posey, which was huge to be able to learn from them and to run at Road Atlanta and test different setups and really get a sense of the GT4 environment and the SRO environment of like what a sim day looks like there. That was really huge and to learn a lot. And my times, I think I was within 4/10 of Jensen and Nolan, who were the fastest guys there. It was huge.
Given kind of trajectory of your career, do you see you coming back to do more next year, more Mustang challenge, maybe move up to challenge, or like you say, you've tested GT4 this year at Roebling Road, and you've tested the MX-5 at Indy, and don't be making your debut. What would be an ideal scenario for you to go into as because the Mustang Cup season is going to be coming to a close here because next round is August at Road America.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of internal discussion about 2027 for sure. There's lots of cool stuff we've been working on the hopefully on the GT4 side of things is where we're thinking, and nothing crazy I can talk about right now, but I think like in the next couple of years moving up to GT4 is definitely my goal because the GT4 I think is going to be a car I can settle into for many seasons, and that's where I can really build off my career.
Right. And obviously, like you say, with such a young career only beginning, there's only one way to go, and that's up from here.
Exactly.
Hopping in and out of some of these cars, y'all and Mustang Cup, y'all are on a kind of like a sprint race format, but do you feel that an environment for getting to do longer races like say GT4 America or Pilot Challenge would fit your kind of style, getting these long runs and being in the car a lot longer than like the 50-minute or 40-minute sprint race?
I think so, yeah. I mean, coming from karting, the 40-minute races feel like an eternity, whereas you would do a 12-lap go-kart race, it would take 9 minutes and you were done. So I think that's what I've been having to adjust to. That's actually been one of the hardest adjustments for me is getting used to the length of the race. And like when you're doing a 40-minute stint in like 90-degree weather, it gets really hot inside the car. That's been one of the hardest things for me. But I think the longer stints of GT4 is going to be really benefit. It's going to be something I'm going to have to learn, but I think I'll get used to it and be really good at it.
And the Mustang Cup car is a very physical car. You actually have a, like you mentioned earlier, you have to actually manually shift the gears, no paddle, and especially in this year has been a lot. Some of these tracks, the temperatures have been, a lot hotter than normal. So the physicality of that and just building the endurance and stamina to withstand a 40-minute race.
Yeah, it's been actually a lot, that aspect's been a lot more of a learning curve than I expected. I mean, I'd like to call myself an athletic person. Outside the track, I play some pretty good ice hockey, but it's just been the heat that's been a huge adjustment for me. I got some pretty bad heat stroke after the first race at Coda. I had to go to the Medi Center. I've been trying to like go to the sauna and train as much as possible into me, but being from Canada where it gets down to like -30, -40 on a regular basis, it's not, and then going into the race car where it's 150 degrees sometimes, it's been really tough, but I'm slowly getting better at it, slowly getting better at it.
As we head into the last couple rounds, this year's been it's been a fight up front, in the dark horse class, between you, Corey Howard's been showing some pace, Cale Buell, Logan Adams. It's been a real fight up front there. Who do you feel is the benchmark you're setting yourself to out of your competition right there? And as we, head into the last two rounds with Road America and Road Atlanta coming up in September.
I mean, obviously, Logan's been doing an incredible job this year. He's very experienced driver as well. He's done a lot on the formula side, jumping over. Done a great transition. So I think that's always my benchmark. Obviously, is the guy that's winning every weekend. I think myself and Cale Buell have had a lot of battles this year, especially at Barber and Coda. Coda, we were within 3 seconds of each other at the end of the race, fighting for the win. I think, but the main target, obviously, every weekend is to try and get ahead of Logan or be close to Logan, because if you're close to Logan, you can win the race. That's how it is every weekend.
And it's interesting to see the, kind of constant, when you look at Mustang Challenge here in the when they qualify, it's a split field. You got your legends or excuse me, your dark horse in the front and legends, behind them. How do you feel that you have to get through the depending where you qualify, you might have more legends you have to get through than people in your class. Do you feel that obviously making more passes and getting comfortable can benefit you a lot as the races go on?
Yeah, so from my perspective, when I'm out there, I don't treat it. The only time I really think about the class is if there's like 5 minutes to go, if the guy behind me or right ahead of me is in my class or not, then I don't either worry about him or don't worry about him, sort of thing. But when you're out there, especially the first half of the race and qualifying, it's almost just like one big field, because there's a few of the Legends drivers who are very quick. Like Craig Capaldi is a very good race car driver. He's been driving a long time. He would be, in my opinion, I think if he went to Mustang Challenge in the Legends field, he would probably dominate there too. There's Steve Luca has been a really good driver as well. He's been driving a long time. He's a Legends guy. He's been up front, sometimes even challenging Logan in terms of lap time. So the Legends field in Mustang Cup is very strong. And it just adds more cars and adds more people to race against. And it's just more experience. And when you have to pass them, it's just like every single pass you make, especially at the beginning of your career, that's one of the scariest parts about it compared to karting, is there's a lot more on the line. And so when you have to get through those guys, it's just more practice and more development, which ultimately in Mustang Cup is what I'm here for, development.
Right, and obviously, I feel like the Mustang Cup is definitely one of the biggest stepping stones for development in any form of racing. And then you got the challenge right after, which is just only going to further that development even more. But kind of with the development side of things, did the karting mainly play your biggest role with your development, or has it been more the Mustang Cup?
It's been Mustang Cup for sure. I mean, there's certain things you can translate between karting and cars, but it's a lot different. You could be the best go-karter in the world, be step in a race car and be 3 seconds off the pace. Like just because you're fast in a kart doesn't mean you're fast in a car, and vice versa. So I think what I've been learning in Mustang Cup has been the biggest for my development. It's where I developed the most.
You're kind of, I wouldn't say like odd, an odd one out there in the series. Most of them after they come to Carlton go do like some SCCA, NASA, some more club racing to kind of build. Because karting, you can learn a lot in karting, but once you make that step into like an AM level environment of something SCCA and learn racecraft, for you, did you feel it was you had to learn some more skills of racecraft jumping into these cars for your first weekend at Sebring?
Yeah, so it was definitely a bigger jump than most people do or really should do. I mean, I think especially going into my first test at Daytona, the first race car I've ever driven's got 500 horsepower and it's almost as fast as GT4. I was terrified. But in terms of the racecraft, it actually has been tricky. So for us, Sebring was a very difficult weekend. We were having gearbox and car issues and clutch issues every single session. We didn't actually finish a session apart from practice that weekend, so it was didn't get to race a whole lot. So essentially, my first race was Barber. In the first race of Barber, we ended up finishing third in class, but it was difficult because there was a few Legends guys. I was about a second lap quicker than, and I was stuck behind them for like 10, 20 minutes, and my crew was getting on the radio going, you got to get past this guy, you got to get past this guy, and I didn't know how because in karting the passing opportunities are very easy and they're very clear cut and like you just like draft them and go around them pretty much. Whereas especially at Barber, not a lot of long straights, not a lot of passing opportunities. That was tricky for me. Um, but yeah, it's definitely been a huge jump for me, and it's been one of the most difficult learning curves. I think going into Coda, we got a lot better with that, longer straights, more passing opportunities, and in practice, sometimes I'd go over the back and have to like work my way through the field, which is a really good way to learn too. And also in between Barber and Coda, we had the Mazda MX-5 test where you're being passed or passed every three corners. That's going to teach you, and that's what really taught me racecraft. And I think I'm at a decent spot now. There's definitely some more work to be done with it, but every time I go on a track around other cars who are in the same class as me, I'm just getting better at it.
It's just to feel getting more comfortable in these cars. And we said, you mentioned earlier, it's hard to pass in these cars. You do really good if you can make three passes in a race. um that kind of makes the incentive to qualify up higher, more rewarding because there's less cars in front of you and you can really contend with them. Has that been something that you found that, obviously the race is important, but qualifying has been the thing to something you want to always work on and improve on?
Yeah, so actually, one of the things that surprised me about myself in car racing is when I was in go-karting, qualifying was my weakness. I would usually, the 40 car field races, I'd qualify like 10 spots below where I'd end up finishing. But for me, in cars, actually qualifying has been one of the things I've been best at. I've been able to at Coda, I qualified on the front row overall, managed to stay there in the race. But there's been a lot of times where I've actually qualified higher and I've ended up finishing, which is something I need to work on. But I think my one lap pace and my qualifying pace has actually been really good this year.
As you head into the last two rounds, we got MX5 Cup coming up next week you're at a home track for you, but will you be back in the cars for any more testing with the Mustang Cup or maybe some GT4 testing before the season's up?
Our plan, we're looking at doing some GT4 testing. I think is what I want to focus on right now is just getting in the GT4 as much as possible. Anytime the team is going to test somewhere, I want to be there. So even if I only get like 10, 15 minutes in the car for the day, it's still worth it to go down there and,
Right.
learn. I think getting as much seat time I can is important, even if it's in Dark Horse or MX5, any kind of testing we can do because there's a huge gap in between now and Road America. I don't think Road America is till late August. We're just entered July here. So we have a huge gap. So I think getting as much testing and sim time too is what I'm going to try and do a lot of. I told the team anytime you guys have a sim session with Ford for the GT4, I want to be there. Even if I only get a 10-minute session, I want to be there. That's any seat time I can get is super important.
Right. And obviously, like you say, kind of preface what the 5, 10 year goal is for you in your career.
Yeah, so 5, 10 years, long way out. I mean, my career goal, my stretch goal, my dream is to win Le Mans one day. That's my goal to stay in sports car racing, to be at the pinnacle of it in the top class, whether it be in hypercar or GT3. I want to go to Le Mans and win. That's my dream. But in terms of 5, 10 years, I think in 5 years, my goal is to be, starting, have a good GT4 career and start to step into GT3s. Maybe I enter the Rolex as a fourth driver or get the odd sprint race. I think that'd be cool in 5 years. And I think in 10 years, I'd like to be well established as a WeatherTech driver, hopefully in the still in the Ford program, and just be a full season WeatherTech driver in 10 years is my goal.
and I think you can't be a better manufacturer than want to do it. Look how much they're dumping into the junior development team. Look at your co-driver Jensen, Sam Paley. So many guys here, not just racing here in the U.S. but abroad. So I think there's no better way to get involved. And Ford, Ford as a whole is putting so much into their motorsports. It's just not sports car racing, NASCAR, off-road, Formula One. So I don't think there's really a better manufacturer you could be with at a time right now on the way the trajectory sports car racing is going on.
Right, and just to add to what Wyman said just then, I mean, you even have a CEO that's full-fledged into it with the racing side of it. So I feel like that adds to it. Just seeing the CEO, which is Jim Farley, that's just like wanting to go for it and get out there and go fast with y'all.
It's huge. Ford is an awesome company. They're like you guys are saying, the opportunities within it are amazing. If I'm running TT3s for them and it's like, oh, I get an opportunity to go run a NASCAR race on a road course. That's awesome. I go opportunity to go run something off road. That's what I love about this is how motorsports focused they are and they put everything into motorsports. And it's not just, it's more than just trying to sell road cars to me, especially when Mr. Farley is out there with us doing a lot of the Mustang Challenge races, competing with his junior drivers. It's like you said, it's an awesome organization. And I'm so happy to just be a small part of it in Mustang Cup.
Carlton, I think you got a really bright future ahead of you. I hope to see you next year, maybe 40 years up, get a Mustang Challenge race or two in. And I think GT4 is definitely on the radar in it. And, from what I heard from talking with Jensen at Road Atlanta, that the Roebling test went really well with you. And I think GT4 is definitely on the radar. We can see something in here soon.
Yeah, that's my goal is to get in the GT4 as soon as possible. I love that. That was the most fun I had driving a race car. Was the GT4 car? It was amazing.
All right, and obviously, Carlton, we want to wish you the best of luck in your career, and we want to thank you for coming on today, taking what small amount of time we took out of your day and just coming on and talk some racing with us. You have a very interesting career to start out with, and we can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. It was my first time doing something like this, so it was definitely a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome being on here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hopefully we'll catch you up with you maybe this year or next year with wherever your career takes you. And get some good shots of you on track and stuff.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, guys.
Of course.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carlton.
Have a good one.
You too.